Okay, so let's dive into this story. It's about a group of brilliant minds who genuinely thought they had solved the market. I mean, these were mathematical wizards who built this incredible financial machine that they believed was perfect. But what they really created was a ticking time bomb, right at the heart of it all. This warning from all the way back in 1930, it just perfectly sets the stage for what we're talking about. It's a story of staggering genius, for sure, but also devastating hubris that would play out almost 80 years later. So our story really kicks off, not on some chaotic trading floor, but in the fancy Versailles room of the St. Regis Hotel. It's a high-stakes poker game. But this isn't just any game. This is a gathering of the new tycoons of Wall Street, a literal murderer's row of quantitative investing. So let's meet the players. First up, you've got Peter Muller. He's this whip-smart mathematician, and he's running a super secretive multi-billion-dollar fund for Morgan Stanley. But get this, he's a guy worth hundreds of millions who would sometimes take his keyboard into the New York subway just to play for coins, just for the fun of it. Then there's Ken Griffin, the toughest nails manager of Citadel, and his nickname? The Grave Dancer. Yeah, that came from his fund's reputation for sweeping in on companies that were in trouble just to pick apart the remains for a profit. And we've also got Cliff Asness, a real pioneer of quant investing from his early days at Goldman Sachs. The guy was known for his absolutely razor-sharp mind and a pretty wry sense of humor, but also for flying into these computer-smashing rages when things weren't going his way. Rounding out the table is Boaz Weinstein. He's a total prodigy, a chess life master. In fact, he was so good at counting cards that his name was on more than one Vegas casino's blacklist. He basically treated Wall Street like it was the biggest, most profitable casino on Earth. So look, these men weren't just playing for money. I mean, they already had staggering amounts of it. No, they were in this constant, almost epic quest for something they called alpha. It was their code word for this elusive, almost mystical quality. The secret formula, the truth about how the market really worked. And this whole mindset, it created this really clear division in how they saw the financial universe. On one side, you had beta. That's just the market average, basically dumb luck. But on the other side, you had alpha. And alpha, that was the verifiable proof of their own genius. For them, alpha was skill, it was predictable, and it was good. But to really understand how these guys came to rule Wall Street, we've got to go back in time. We have to look at the story of their godfather, the man who literally wrote the playbook they were all using. Meet Ed Thorpe. This guy was a true original. He was a math professor who saw both casinos and the stock market as the exact same thing, a system of numbers, a machine that could be understood and, this is the important part, beaten. He cracked blackjack, wrote the book on it that terrified casinos, and then just turned that same exact logic to the market itself. You see, a casino owner once said that when a lamb goes to the slaughter, the house always bets on the butcher. Well, after Thorpe proved his system worked, he knew he had completely flipped the odds. He had beaten the butcher. He proved that with enough math, you could always have an edge. So, with the casinos conquered, Thorpe then set his sights on the biggest casino of all. And he was armed with a new insight that would end up changing finance forever. He embraced this theory called the random walk. Now, stick with me here. The theory basically argues you can't predict a stock's next step. It's pretty much a coin flip. But, and this is the absolute key, you can predict the probability of how far it's likely to wander over time. Kind of like how you can predict how far a drunkard is likely to stumble away from a lamppost. And this insight allowed him to invent a totally new, powerful kind of trading. By finding these mispriced assets and then hedging his bets perfectly, he could create a scientific way to make profits that were almost risk-free. I mean, this is the crucial point. This right here was the birth of the modern quant hedge fund, and it was all built on this elegant mathematical logic. So Thorpe's methods completely conquered Wall Street. An entire industry was built on the foundation he laid. But here's the thing. It all contained a hidden and really dangerous assumption. You see, his models and all the quant models that came after them, they all assumed that the market's movements were orderly. They believed this giant financial machine followed predictable, almost polite statistical patterns. What they believed the market behaved like was this, a perfect bell curve. Now, in this world, small, orderly price movements are super common, and those really extreme events, they're so rare that they're considered statistically impossible. But there was a problem, a big one. It was a warning that had been issued decades earlier by this brilliant mathematician named Benoit Mandelbrot. He argued that market reality just doesn't follow such a neat curve. Why? Because markets aren't just abstract math problems. They're driven by people, by fear, and by greed. And he showed that this human element creates what he called fat tails. It's a space where these wild, chaotic, unpredictable jumps don't just happen. They happen way more often than the models could ever predict. The quants just ignored the warning. That is, until Black Monday. The market crashed 23% in a single day, a total catastrophe that their formulas said could basically never, ever happen. One study called it a 27 standard deviation event. To put that in simple terms, that's a statistical measure of pure impossibility. It was an event so far outside their model's reality that it shouldn't have occurred even once in the entire lifespan of the universe. And this one day, it just brilliantly illustrated the flaw at the very heart of their perfect machine. And that brings us right back to our poker players in 2006. These guys were Ed Thorp's heirs. They were armed with his world-changing formulas, but just like so many others, they remained completely blind to the flaw that Black Monday had already exposed for everyone to see. By 2006, these guys weren't just managing millions. They were juggling almost $2 trillion. Their strategies were the core engine of Wall Street, and they truly believed their models had created a new, safer financial world, a world where those big shocks were just a thing of the past. But in reality, they were just building a bigger, more complex bomb and lighting the fuse for the global financial crisis that was lurking just around the corner. And so, in their search for the market's absolute truth, they had created these beautiful, elegant models that could calculate pretty much everything, except for the one variable that mattered most, the one thing their formulas could never, ever account for, the one thing that would inevitably cause their beautiful machine to just explode: human madness.